Welcome and thank you for joining us today for Unified Endpoint Management, leading solutions for achieving modern management requirements in multi-device support stacks. My name is Raleigh Gould and I'll be your moderator for today's event. Our featured speaker is Steve Brasen, Research Director at Enterprise Management Associates. Steve's career at EMA follows 20 years of in-the-trenches experience in IT system support, engineering, and management for high technology, telecommunications, and financial institutions. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Steve for the remainder of the webinar. Steve?
Thank you very much, Raleigh, and thank you all for joining us today for our discussion on Unified Endpoint Management. EMA recently released the results of our 2019 Unified Endpoint Management Radar Report, which provides an independent and objective side-by-side comparison of leading solutions on the market today. And I'm delighted to be able to reveal key results from this research, including actionable guidance on best practices for performing your own solution evaluation, as well as our conclusions on the leading vendor solutions that address today's most critical requirements for managing end-user computing. To begin, here's a quick look at our agenda. We'll start with a brief overview of modern management requirements for supporting PC, mobile, and IoT devices in a multi-device world. Next, we'll look at how Unified Endpoint Management platforms evolve to deliver consolidated administration environments for all endpoint devices managed from a single pane of glass. This will set the stage for us to discuss optimal processes for assessing the Unified Endpoint Management market by identifying the key characteristics you should look for in an optimal solution. And finally, we'll reveal the primary results of the EMA Radar evaluation, including the identification of the leading Unified Endpoint Management platforms available today, and special recognition awards for solutions that deliver specific innovations. Across all industry sectors, business success is, well, today, dependent on the effectiveness of the workforces and the technologies they use to complete their job tasks. Without a doubt, end-user computing solutions are the key to enhancing workforce productivity and improving employee performance is the primary driver for most organizations to adopt an endpoint management platform. However, productivity improvements only scratch the surface of the value that can be achieved from comprehensive endpoint management processes and solutions. The eminent availability of essential hardware and software resources frees up workers to focus on the successful completion of job tasks rather than wasting time on how they are going to complete those job tasks. This leads to increased creativity, greater speed in responding to customer, market, and business requests, improved opportunities to collaborate with peers across siloed business organizations, and with external partners or customers. And all of this results in improved employee job satisfaction that helps motivate workforces and is essential to retaining key talent. To say the least, the types of user devices available today is very diverse, and the selection of which device to use at any given time has become a very personal decision. A decade or so ago, it was not uncommon for organizations to select and purchase all devices used by their employees. However, all this changed with the consumerization of IT, driven by the introduction of mobile devices, which allowed employees to purchase and use their own devices, or at the very least have some influence over the type of devices that they will use. What's more, today users do not rely on only one device. In fact, EMA research indicates the majority of business professionals rely on two or more devices to regularly perform job-related tasks. The specific device a worker selects to use at any given time is dependent on the tasks they need to perform, or their physical location and the level of convenience offered by the different form factors. It should be no surprise that personal preference on endpoint devices are as diverse as the number of supported users. This has placed a huge burden on organizations to support a broad range of devices. For every new endpoint platform the organization supports, the number of management tasks increases exponentially. Further complicating administrative processes is the fact that users now perform roughly half of all business tasks outside of the confines of the company network and the physical office premises. Supporting today's more mobile workforces requires organizations to enable eminently reliable and remotely accessible IT services to any device at any location at any time. To fully appreciate the challenges with enabling broad heterogeneous endpoint management, it is important to review how the processes and solutions evolved over time. Now, traditional endpoint management practices were initially introduced to principally support Windows desktop PCs. It's what we used to call client lifecycle management solutions because they were designed to govern every aspect of the PCs from initial deployment through final retirement. The introduction of the iPhone in 2007 ushered in the mobile revolution and the consumerization of IT. Now, in response to the sudden and broad influx of smartphones and tablets, mobile device management, or MDM solutions, were initially developed to emulate PC client lifecycle management processes on mobile devices. However, we all quickly learned that mobile devices cannot be managed with the same end-to-end controls that were introduced for PCs. Instead, what we learned, mobile devices users require much more robust self-service capabilities and greater choice when it comes to software availability and configuration. Now, this led directly to the introduction of endpoint mobility management, or EMM solution suites, that focused principally on the secure delivery of IT services, so applications, data, and other resources like email, rather than on the physical device management itself. Now, it's important to recognize that for more than a decade, PC and mobile management solutions were completely separate and isolated platforms. Most organizations adopted independent solutions for each, and many distributed management responsibilities for the two endpoint classes across siloed operations teams that rarely, if ever, even talked to each other. The merging of PC and mobile management practices began with a broad recognition that maintaining separate practices for each is inefficient, expensive, and ultimately unsustainable. A large part of this conceptual change derives from the fact that there is really no clear delineation between what is a PC and what is a mobile device anymore. Standard taxonomies indicate a mobile device is simply any computing device designed principally for portability, which logically should include laptops. However, some definitions state that the mobile device must be handheld, indicating that size might be a factor when specifying how small a device must be to be considered handheld. But many laptops can be purchased that are smaller than large-sized tablets, so that definition doesn't work. From an IT management perspective, the classification of a mobile device does not rely on the device form factor at all, but rather on its operating system. Windows and Macs are PCs, and iOS and Android are mobile devices. However, even this differentiation is rapidly fading. With the release of Windows 10, Microsoft unified operating system environments across its supported desktop, laptops, and tablet devices. Apple, for its part, has been increasingly sharing code between iOS and Mac OS X. Google's Android and Chrome OS platforms are both derivatives of Linux. So as endpoint devices increasingly use common operating systems and software components, the hardware differences between PCs and mobile devices increasingly becomes irrelevant, and maintaining separate management processes is simply redundant. In addition to the increased management efforts, time, and costs required to support separate endpoint management solutions, they create inconsistent user environments that hamper user productivity, and a lack of standardization in management practices dramatically increases the potential for failure events and security breaches. What today's IT support organizations most require is a method for managing all endpoint devices in their organization in a consistent and consolidated manner. Unified endpoint management solutions answer the challenge of converging device architectures because they enable a centralized interface for supporting all user endpoints and all operating environments, including Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, IoT, and other endpoint devices. From a single administrative console, configuration and status details can be collected for all devices and recorded in a consolidated asset data repository. Now, this enables a holistic view across the support stack to facilitate the rapid identification of issues while providing administrators with the strategic information necessary to make informed decisions on optimal configurations and proactive improvements. Additionally, a single unified interface is provided for managing all enterprise resources, including applications, data, email, and other services, to greatly simplify endpoint provisioning and maintenance tasks such as patching, updating, security, and configuration management. The leading unified endpoint management platforms can be categorized into two areas: enterprise mobility management solutions that have evolved to extend their functionality to also support PCs, and PC management solutions that have been enhanced to also support mobile devices. Now, in most cases, the greater competency of the platform comes from its historical focus. So, in other words, platforms initially designed to support PCs will, in many cases, provide better support for PCs than mobile devices and vice versa. However, this is not always true. We've actually identified several EMM solution providers that have introduced PC support features that exceed the capabilities of many legacy client lifecycle management solutions. So it can be somewhat challenging to identify the unified endpoint management platform that will provide the best fit for any particular organization, given that each business will have its own unique set of requirements, breadth of administrative support, and budget availability. To assist organizations in the identification of solutions that deliver value in achieving requirements for unified endpoint management, we evaluated the leading platforms available on the market today and published the results in an EMA Radar Report. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, EMA Radar Reports are independent and objective evaluations of leading solutions supporting specific management practices with the goal of identifying their value to prospective buyers. Now, to be clear, we define value as the ratio derived from the strength of a product set against its cost efficiency. So to put it simply, the more users pay for a solution, the greater the advantages they should receive in terms of breadth of functionality and supportability. Solution providers and their solutions are identified and carefully evaluated across 5 distinct areas: architecture and integration, functionality, deployment and administration, cost advantage, and vendor strength. Now, if you've conducted any IT management product evaluations in the past, you've undoubtedly come across other market landscape reports offered by other analyst firms and others. But if you look closely at these, you'll notice that they only really provide information on one aspect, which is vendor strength, which I suppose is helpful if you're a financial investor looking for where you're going to invest your money, but it's not really useful as a buying guide. EMA Radar Reports are the only standardized reports currently available that empirically compare IT management products side by side to provide objective, independent, and actionable guidance on the solutions that deliver the best balance of cost versus functionality. Our review process for the Unified Endpoint Management Radar Report began with an identification of critical features and capabilities. This list was used to establish evaluation KPIs that were ranked and weighted to correspond with the requirements we determined to be prioritized by organizations that have adopted or plan to adopt a UEM platform. The KPI prioritizations are based on discussions with IT operations managers, survey-based research responses, and our discussions with end users, as well as our own experiences and knowledges of enterprise requirements and best practices. For these KPIs, a minimum level of functional requirements was established to identify which management platforms qualify for recognition as a leading unified endpoint management solution. A detailed questionnaire on the capabilities, costs, and supportability of their respective product sets was submitted to each of the selected solution providers. More than 200 points of comparison were considered, and all responses were carefully vetted for accuracy. We also conducted interviews with vendor customers to confirm product capabilities and indicate customer satisfaction with the product sets. Scoring of the vendor solutions was mathematically calculated by correlating available features, architecture, pricing, and capabilities against our predetermined KPIs. And then final scoring of each product set was used in the product comparison charts that you'll see and in the determination of award winners. Now, to give you an idea of the criteria we considered in our evaluation, so that you can include them in your own review, I'd like to very briefly cover the characteristics that we believe should be included in an ideal solution for unified endpoint management across the 5 pillars of comparison. Starting with architecture and integration. An ideal solution should be designed to perform all security monitoring and management tasks with a single centralized administrative console and access from a single interface. We are, after all, discussing unified endpoint management solutions. Broad support for heterogeneous endpoints is also essential. At minimum, Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android platforms should be supported. However, also valued by many organizations is support for Chrome OS, for Chromebooks, Linux and Unix operating systems, as well as alternative device form factors such as thin clients, wearables, and IoT devices. An ideal platform will be able to govern all supported endpoints with a single set of user profiles. This will allow organizations to set security, access, and configuration policies consistently across all devices employed by users without requiring duplicate management efforts. The solutions should also be highly scalable so that they can easily grow to meet expanding requirements in your organization. Direct integration should also be established with third-party management products to extend the platform capabilities and meet unique business needs. Now, to be clear, when I say direct integration, that implies the solutions share a common code, they employ common data collection processes, they utilize a common management interface, or they store the data in a common data repository. And they do this out of the box and without the need for any additional customizations. Now, additionally, robust APIs should also be provided to allow the easy development of custom integrations with third-party solutions. Functionality, of course, encompasses a very broad range of features in regards to enabling unified endpoint management. And unfortunately, I just don't have the time to cover all the granular capabilities we evaluated. But here are some of the more critical areas of functionality we recommend should be included in any adopted platform. Asset management detects and records endpoint details and status information in a centralized data repository. Operating system provisioning installs and migrates the latest approved operating system versions, while software provisioning enables either administrators or end users to install downloadable apps, web apps, SaaS apps, and virtual apps. Patches and updates for both operating systems and applications should be governed by centralized processes to ensure all endpoints are using the most current approved software release. Remote access and control assists administrators with problem resolution and user support by allowing them to remotely access endpoint devices as if they were using them remotely. To manage IT support services, all unified endpoint management platforms should include a help desk ticketing system or integrate directly with third-party solutions. Additionally, platforms should include workflow integration, scripting, process automation, and event scheduling to standardize and simplify administrative processes. Now, arguably the most valued feature today falls under the topic of security management. Related capabilities would include device port and peripheral controls, rooting and jailbreaking detection, lock and wipe of business applications and data, location tracking and geofencing, malware protection, identity and access management, application white and blacklisting, software vulnerability assessments, data loss prevention, and resource isolation to support BYOD programs. And then finally, reporting, alarming, and compliance processes should be included that continuously monitor devices, applications, and security conditions to provide status on the state of endpoint devices, enable immediate problem remediation, and provide proof of compliance. It is important to note that not all features supported by a UBM platform apply to all endpoints. Now, for instance, some features may only work with Windows PCs, while others may only work with iPhones. But our evaluation, we considered not only the number and types of features offered by the evaluated platform, but also the breadth of endpoint types which each will support. So I highly recommend you keep that in mind if you're performing your own product evaluation, and look for platforms that offer features that support the specific devices in use in your particular organization. Deployment and administration factors include infrastructure complexity. These in which a solution can be deployed is directly related to the complexity of the infrastructure supporting it. So simple architectures with fewer hardware and software elements to install would obviously be favored here. While cloud-hosted platforms typically do not require any on-premises software or hardware installations, organizations sometimes choose to have the option of installing an on-premises staging area to host software elements like patches or operating system installations and things like that. Processes for onboarding endpoint devices should also be simple and intuitive. Administration is simplified by an intuitive and customizable console interface that consolidates all management processes, dashboards, and reports into a single pane of glass. Role-based profiles that are integrated with listing services such as Active Directory also simplifies administration by allowing users to be organized into logical groups and then collectively supported with a common set of permissions and restrictions. Vendors must also display a commitment to supporting the management platform by offering maintenance contracts that deliver responsive and continuously available live support as well as timely product updates. And vendors should engage their user community by hosting online forums and regular conferences or meetings to educate their customer organizations on the effective use of their respective platforms and on endpoint management best practices in general. And for cost advantage, we favor pricing models that are simple to understand and easy to calculate. Now, typically, solution licenses are offered as either a one-time perpetual license or recurring monthly or annual subscription license. Some vendors offer both options and let you choose which works best for you. License costs may be calculated as per user or per device. Per user pricing is typically advantageous for organizations that have users that employ more than one supported device. Of course, license costs are not the only factor in the total cost of ownership in a solution. So platforms with minimal hardware and software infrastructure requirements are also preferred. This is an important factor to consider when reviewing cloud-hosted solutions that require no additional infrastructure purchases like console servers and SQL databases. And an optimal solution will include maintenance contracts or only charge a minimal fee for maintenance support and product updates. Commonly, maintenance contracts are offered as an annual fee priced as a percentage of the initial purchase price, but you have to be careful because maintenance costs can actually add up quite significantly over time. Typically, vendors that offer license subscriptions include maintenance support with that subscription, while perpetual licenses charge extra for an annual maintenance contract. Consumers should also be aware of a vendor's stability and its commitment to a platform prior to adoption of the solution in order to be sure of its long-term viability. And that's what we look for in a solution with a positive vendor strength. A vendor that is financially strong with high revenue and vast equity is more likely to continue support for a management platform. Also, solution providers that invest heavily in research and development are likely to maintain continual value in the platform's architecture and feature set. Strategic and channel partnerships also increase vendor relevance in the market space, and customer loyalty extends visible credibility. Now, additionally, a vendor's vision and strategy for development, innovation, and foresight of future requirements will indicate whether a management solution will remain competitive in a rapidly evolving market like that of unified endpoint management. So just to be clear, for our evaluation, we had some strict rules about what features could or could not be eligible for review. These were adopted to ensure that the evaluation was fair to all of the participants. The features needed to be generally available with the solution at the time of the evaluation. Any features that were in beta testing or were scheduled to be included in later releases of the management suite were not eligible for consideration. All the features needed to be self-contained within the included package sets. Any features not natively included in the evaluated package sets were available separately from the same vendor or from third-party vendors for an additional cost did not qualify. And also, all the reported features needed to be clearly documented in publicly available resources, such as user manuals or technical papers, so that we could verify that they actually exist, and also to ensure that they were being formally supported. So after several months and detailed product reviews, I'm delighted to be able to share with you the EMA Unified Endpoint Management Radar Market Landscape Chart. Now, as I noted, EMA defines value here as the ratio derived from the strength of a product set against its cost efficiency. So with that in mind, the vertical axes on this chart combine scores for functionality with architecture and integration to define the solution impact or the strength of the product set. The horizontal axes combine scores for cost advantage and deployment with administration, deployment and administration, to define the deployment cost efficiency, because together these two indicate the CapEx and OpEx of components in a total cost of ownership. So the size of each bubble on this chart represents the vendor strength. Vendors that most effectively balanced solution strength with cost efficiency landed in that dark green triangle in the upper right corner and were identified as value leaders. Now, I want to be clear, though, that we've only charted here the solutions we've identified as leading providers of unified endpoint management solutions. Now, there are a number of other solutions available on the market that you might find today. But according to our evaluation, if we scored them against our KPIs, they would fall into those the limited value or targeted value fields, so lower on the list, and therefore are probably not worth your time reviewing. So essentially what we've provided for you here is a short list of vendors to investigate if you are looking to adopt a unified endpoint management platform. And I'll very briefly introduce the leading solutions, starting with the value leaders which achieve the highest scores for both solution impact and deployment cost efficiency. Listed in alphabetical order, we'll start with Citrix. Citrix Endpoint Management is a component of Citrix Workspace, formerly known as the Citrix Zen Mobile Service, which you might be familiar with. Citrix Endpoint Management is designed to manage a wide range of devices and applications from a consolidated Citrix Workspace console, providing IT with control of configuration, security, provisioning, and support capabilities. IBM Mass 360 is directly integrated with IBM's AI for Business platform, Watson, to enable cognitive insights, contextual analytics, and cloud-sourced benchmarking capabilities that make sense of rapidly changing endpoint states and conditions. Mass 360 provides a wide range of management and security capabilities to enable tiered or layered endpoint security to meet a variety of end-user needs and IT security requirements. Manage Engine Desktop Central manages thousands of servers, desktops, laptops, smartphones, and tablets from a single central location. It automates desktop and mobile device management life cycles from simple systems configuration to complex software deployments. Manage Engine developed Desktop Central with the goal of helping businesses cut IT infrastructure costs, achieving operational efficiencies, and improving productivity and combating network vulnerabilities. VMware Workspace ONE is an intelligence-driven digital workspace platform powered by the vendor's AirWatch technology. The platform enables IT to securely deliver and manage any app on any device by integrating access controls, app management, and multi-platform modern endpoint management. Now next I'll cover the unified endpoint management solution providers that were determined to achieve strong value in our evaluation, again listed alphabetically. Ivanti Unified Endpoint Manager increases user and IT productivity by helping IT administrators gather detailed data, device data, automate systems and OS deployment, personalize workspace environments, and rapidly resolve user issues. Matrix 42 UEM offers a scalable infrastructure built on your choice of local and cloud-based servers. The platform was purpose-built to deliver outstanding end-user experiences and include a self-service user portal that provides a single point of interaction with IT. Microsoft Intune is a cloud-hosted service in the enterprise mobility management space designed to help workforces be productive while protecting corporate data. Quest Software's case solutions help organizations provision, manage, secure, and service network-connected devices. The Case Systems Management Appliance manages, secures, and services heterogeneous endpoint devices and integrates directly with the Case Cloud Mobile Device Manager SaaS solution to enable single pane of glass management for both mobile and network-connected devices. And finally, Sophos Mobile is a unified endpoint management and mobile threat defense platform designed to help businesses spend less time and effort managing and securing PC and mobile endpoints. The included Sophos Mobile security resources provide an on-device protection of users, endpoints, and data from malicious connections, content, and applications. Now, as part of our evaluation, we also identified several vendors that stood out for providing innovations in unified endpoint management that, in our opinion, went above and beyond our review KPIs. Now, to these, we are awarding special recognition for their unique areas of strength, starting with Matrix 42, which we determined to provide the best management experience of the solutions that we evaluated. Designed with easily digestible graphical elements, the Matrix 42 Unified Endpoint Management Console is logically organized so that even first-time administrators can navigate to the dashboards and the tools that they require. We found the dashboard reports to be particularly intelligent and easily customizable, so organizations can create visualizations that present critical information at a glance to help organizations achieve compliance, SLA, and service management goals. One current Matrix 42 customer that we interviewed reported that their organization was able to reduce management costs by as much as 90% since adopting the platform because of the, and I quote, the very visual, fully automated, and easy-to-use administration experience. We're also recognizing Quest Software for providing the best service management. Evolving requirements for endpoint management place a greater emphasis on enabling the secure and reliable delivery of IT services rather than on physical device management. Service management, therefore, plays a much more critical role in endpoint operations than it has in more traditional environments. While most endpoint management platforms provide some level of integration with third-party service management platforms, Quest Software's Case Systems Management Appliance includes its own service desk platform. The key advantage to this approach is that it enables stronger points of integration between systems and service management processes. Now, for instance, administrators are able to directly remediate an endpoint problem directly from the service desk without having to move to an independent console interface. The service desk is fully customizable and delivers comprehensive reporting and SLA compliance controls. A current platform user that we interviewed indicated the Case Service Desk was critical to their organization's operation and described it as very easy and intuitive to use. And we've also identified VMware Workspace ONE powered by AirWatch as offering the best unified endpoint security. In addition to core endpoint security functionality, Workspace ONE enables the development of security profiles that are context-aware. Now, for instance, devices may be geofenced to apply policies depending on the endpoint's physical location or attached networks. Comprehensive secure remote access support is also natively included with the platform with a per-app VPN that supports micro-segmentation. Also included are secure container applications for email, files, web browsing, and global address lists. Identity and access management features enable multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, password policy management, and identity governance. Now, unfortunately, I don't have time to. I only really have time to skim the surface on our evaluation results into Unified Endpoint Management. So I strongly encourage everyone to read the full report for more detailed information on today's management requirements and more granular feature and comparison details on the vendors that we evaluated. And with that, I'll turn the presentation back over to Raleigh to let you know of how you can access the full Unified Endpoint Management Radar Report. Raleigh?
Great. Thank you, Steve. Before we conclude today's event, I did want the audience to know that I will be sending out a follow-up email. It will include today's on-demand webinar as well as the direct link to the report. You can also go to enterprisemanagement.com, and it's featured on the homepage. We hope that you'll check it out, and I hope that you'll join us for a webinar in the future. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to join us for this one. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of your day.